Joey Connect here, CEO of Proteus, and of course, host of Candid with Connect. I really appreciate your time. Keeping with the spirit of these awesome conversations, we really appreciate all the feedback we're hearing from all of you out there in the Candid with Connect world. Of course, you can connect with us, no pun intended, at candidwithconnect.com. And I'm really excited about today's chat with Will Kloefkorn of Excel Institute. And let me tell you why. Our first chat was astronomically successful because it focused on empathy and really getting to some of the real challenges that are going on in sales today. And it's really not just in sales, but obviously the focus of this show is with sales leadership and really empathizing not only with your internal teams, but also your customers. And that's really probably a common theme here for as we still work our way out of this horrific COVID situation. So I appreciate your positive spirit. I appreciate the energy you're providing the show, and we're going to dig in here today. So as you know, the recipe with Candid with Connect is, first of all, a lot of fun and also getting to know somebody. So as I said, I have Will with me here. Will, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Joey. How are you, man?
I'm doing awesome. Really appreciate your time. I know you guys are extremely busy, which is awesome during this period of time. And one of the things what I want you to share during our chat, and we'll get to it, is really what is that cool thing you've been working on that is really helping companies really level set during this really dramatic time. So I look forward to getting to that. But as you know, the first part about this is getting to know you, and this is where we've gotten tremendous feedback of our different approach on getting to know individuals. So, Will, you know what's coming. So our first question that we like to ask all of our great guests during their chats is, out of the original OG, I always got to go with the OG Care Bears because there's probably like 150 of these little guys now. But out of the original OG Care Bears, what Care Bear would represent you? What's your favorite Care Bear?
Well, what's funny about this question, Joey, and you and I were talking about this a while back, is I've never seen the Care Bears, right? I mean, that's a normal.
You can get kicked off the show when talking like that.
I know, man. It's a normal thing to happen in 2020, right? Where someone's like, "Have you seen this show?" I'm like, "No," because there's a trillion of them. But I never watched Care Bears growing up. I got two kids that never watched it, so I actually had to go to the link and look at them.
Yes.
And so, okay. I'm the good luck bear.
Good luck bear. Nice. That's a good one. I feel like if we really want to propel the Care Bears back into mainstream, we have to kind of do like a Tiger Care Bear kind of show to really get it back on Netflix, and everybody will start to know the Care Bears again. But I appreciate that. And yes, and even if some of our listeners don't know the Care Bears, you know how to get to it. Google it, OG Care Bears. You'll find it, or go to Candid with Connect. You'll see them all there. So it's a fun process, especially if you have kids. They're really good bears. All right, next key question so people get to know a little bit about you. Are you a mountain or water person? Where do you lie in that world?
I like them both, but I lean more towards the water. And I think that just has to do with the fact that I can get to the mountains pretty easily from Nebraska. You can drive to Colorado and experience that, but getting to the ocean and experiencing that's a little bit tougher. But like them both, man. That's slicing hairs.
Awesome. No, yeah, and a lot of our guests do. Obviously, I'm way more water. So a lot of people, it's interesting. A lot of 50-50s, which is interesting. All right, let's get into some more fun, maybe family stuff. Favorite holiday that you and the family like?
Yeah, what's interesting, so you from a family perspective, it's probably Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's when you got two small kids. Christmas is just the best because you get to live vicariously through them. But for me personally, it's the 4th of July. Just because I think because of its simplicity, right? You get all the good stuff. You get the food, you get the music, the beer, the good weather, the water, and it's just simple. So I'd go with 4th of July.
Nice. Follow-up question on that because it seems mission critical. Beer, what's your flavor? Sound like you mentioned it. So what's the flavor?
I'm so easy on that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm probably drinking Busch Light all day long. But I'm not picky. I'm not the guy who's going to be like, well, let me taste that before I choose. I'm like, does it have alcohol? If it has alcohol content, I'll drink it. I'll try it.
Yeah, you're candid. You just want a beer, but you really prefer. And for our East and West Coast listeners, they're called Blue Yummies in the Midwest. That's what Busch Lights are called. So awesome. What's a fun hidden talent that you have, Will, that our listeners wouldn't know? Maybe even family members wouldn't know.
Oh, that's a tough question. One of the things I think, if you want to go outside of talent, just something that people don't know a lot about me is that I'm colorblind. And so that's what's interesting about that, Joe, is that we were playing Uno last night. I can't tell the difference between the red and the green.
Yep.
And in some ways that shaped my philosophy or mindset on life, in the sense that what one person's truth isn't mine. And you're talking about color, but in terms of empathy, you talk about empathy a lot. Being able to understand that somebody else's experience isn't your own has been really brought to the forefront of me through that weird little nuance.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Carrying that kind of philosophy through, Will, if you had to have kind of a tagline or a mantra or something that you say to yourself a lot, or what we're all about here on these chats is obviously being candid, and we all go through struggles. We're all trying to, we all work in challenging environments, but something that kind of is your motto that really kind of drives you every day.
It's simple. It's just, you matter. And when I say that, I mean everybody that's listening to this or anybody out there, but I also say that to myself looking into a mirror.
Yeah.
Just because I think lots of times there's little things that compile in your life, and it's easy to get sidetracked and pay attention to all sorts of noise. But at the end of the day, just, you matter, you're important, and the things that you want to do, the value that you want to bring, just pay attention to that and let that guide you.
And it's no surprise that that's your motto, knowing the organization you're a leader in and what you guys are doing on a daily basis. Obviously, that motto heavily correlates with what you guys do at Excel every single day, I assume. So maybe if you could, for the chat members here, give us a quick backdrop. Obviously, the point of these chats isn't necessarily promoting businesses, but I think it helps to create a little bit of backdrop of what Excel does. And then we're going to kind of get into some of the empathy and things you've been doing here very recently over the last 6 weeks to really help leaders in this challenging time. Tell us a little bit about Excel.
Yeah. So Excel, what we do is we manage and improve, or we measure and improve manager effectiveness, right? Which sounds very simple to say. What makes us a little bit different in the marketplace, Joe, is that we're only focused on the role that the impact that a manager has on their team's performance, but also in their lives, right? So a book that we had published a year ago, the title's The Coaching Effect, and it's a study of 150,000 coaching interactions in the workplace. And so our clients come to us to say, listen, we know that coaching, that leadership, our management team matters. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we've neglected that. And we certainly haven't measured and correlated the impact that they're actually having. We heard that you guys can do that. And so what we live and breathe every single day is measuring the manager to employee relationship, but also taking that a step further, which nobody does, and correlating behavior and activity to actual outcomes from a coaching perspective.
Nice.
Right. So to your previous point, you matter. We absolutely believe that every employee should live in a world where they know what it feels like to have an exceptional coach.
Yeah. Now, I know one of the things that you guys did and why we're chatting here today is obviously that's your corporation and what you guys do on a day-to-day business with your clients. But, during this challenging period that people are having within America now and in business in general and empathizing with their employees and their environments, you guys took all of the power from what I learned and went through with you guys, took all that high power that you've been leveraging for commercial reasons for the last 15, 20 years as an enterprise. But you came up with this pretty cool process that I think, and that's really what I want to share with our partners today and our people with the chat, is kind of this empathizing model that you took a lot of the coaching interactions and how does that work during a challenging time period as it is today. So maybe give us just a real short kind of summary of what that survey was, how that came to life, the why around that. And then more importantly, I think for our chat and obviously being effective, I'd like to get 2 or 3 key takeaways that we can get out of that to share with the masses here.
Yeah. Well, if I had a second motto, it would be emotion drives behavior. And so all day, every day, in good times and in bad, we're measuring activities and behaviors that impact team performance. And so much of that has to do with how an individual on the team feels about the relationship that they have with their direct report, right? So when all of this came down, what we realized, you could see it on the horizon, what was going to happen, which is everybody's going to feel different. This isn't going to be normal. This isn't going to be new normal. This is just going to be a once in a generation type experience. So how can we leverage our amazing research team and help organizations at the same time without any sort of cost associated to it, right?
That's awesome. Yep.
And so we went in quick order, pivoted, and created this COVID-19 survey. And the intent is, from an organization's perspective, to help them understand how individuals are feeling, first and foremost, because that's going to dictate so much in terms of their behavior. The role the managers are playing, are they checking in? What are they doing? How's the perception of what the day-to-day work that they're doing? And then 3, how the company is communicating. Yeah. And so you give companies, small and large, data and insight into those 3 items: individual feelings, manager performance, company communication, to be able to say, okay, these are how our people are perceiving what's going on right now. From that data, let's take it and let's do something about it, because one of the things that's going to get, and it's no surprise probably to you or your audience, but when we come out of this, people aren't going to forget how their managers and how their organization reacted. Yeah. And that's going to be a big deal.
You bet. So for everybody involved here today, and I know you guys have been working with many corporations around the U.S., and we'll provide people who are listening to the chat access to get to the research and get to learn more about that survey to help their own organization. But if you could, in a 1 to 2 minute kind of summary, give us 1 to 2 to maybe 3 key factors that people you've already been through this process with. What is it? What's an enlightening to them? What are they like? Wow, that's a takeaway that I wasn't really prepared for. So that can help the other sales leaders listening to this chat. Okay, that makes sense. I need to think about that, maybe using your tool or even just having candid conversations with their team members. What were some of the key takeaways you guys are seeing?
Yeah, so there's a lot, but one of the things that seems to be pretty universal is just under 50% of organizations or employees feel like their organizations can be communicating better about how the business stands through all of this, right? I think that there's a natural tendency for a lot of organizations to try to soften this in some ways, as opposed to just being, no pun intended, candid with their employees about what's going on and what that means to them, right? They don't want to be, excuse my language, bullshitted. Just tell me how it is, because I want to work within that.
Yep.
So that's been a big takeaway, and it's great. There's execution that you can do to handle that. Another thing we're seeing, which isn't a surprise, but it's also really important to know, which is somewhere between 6 out of 7 employees are saying, "Man, I'm finding this really difficult to do my job." And so from our day-to-day work, from a manager's perspective, you got to be cognizant of that, because how you coach to somebody like me who has 2 small kids versus how you coach a veteran of 20 years who is an empty nester is going to be absolutely different. And you got to be able to act accordingly and be effective within those. So that's good data that's coming out of this.
Yeah, those nuances I think are really key too. Just within your employee base, there's different home environments that are going on, right? Different varying levels. Of course, things are changing dramatically. People are feeling better, getting sick. I mean, so there's all sorts of variables, kids being home from school and being self-taught. I mean, the multiplier effect of things that not only are happening, but can be happening at dynamic times across your team definitely creates a recipe for challenge. And that's awesome that some of these tools are going. If you had one last item that you could share out with everybody listening today, what would that be in kind of their takeaway or momentum for creating change within their org, or at least getting the temperature within their org?
Don't waste the crisis. I was talking to a senior VP the other day, Joey. You'll appreciate this. He just said, "We're done admiring the problem." Mm-hmm. And what he meant by that is, for years and years, they just had neglected the role that the manager has on performance. And everybody kind of says it, "Hey, they were a good employee. We hired them into a management role. We said, go get it." We didn't really give them any support on how do you effectively drive human performance and how much does it matter. Yeah. And so what I love about his sentiment is, I don't care if it's a pandemic or times are the best. That role of the leader, that role of the manager is there. And if you have neglected that, or if you're not putting attention to it today, do so, because it has a huge impact on the personal lives of the people that report into you, but also the performance of the organization, especially when we pop out of this.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, Will, I appreciate that. The way I kind of summarize that, just hearing it and obviously being a part, is, what is the open door policy in a virtual world, right? Where a lot of managers relied on accessibility and people being able to come to them, or them seeing things on their day-to-day basis. What happens when that completely becomes virtualized? So I really appreciate your time today and the chat. If you could, where could people, if they wanted to, get access to that survey?
Yeah. So what I'll do is we provide you a link, Joe, that you can send out to the audience here.
Awesome.
Also, you can go to excellinstitute.com,
Awesome.
ECSELL institute.com. You'll be able to find it there. And then I will, after this, I'm going to go post it on my LinkedIn. So Will Klefkorn on LinkedIn. But if this resonates in any way, just go there, get in contact with me, and we'll get you set up.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your leadership and your entire company's leadership. This isn't a time for profiteering. This is a time of understanding that we've all been blessed with some skills, talents, and of course, access to leverage tools in certain ways. And so being able to help other business leaders be more effective and sales leaders be more effective, that's really what it's all about. So, Will, I really appreciate your time. As usual, you'll be able to get this podcast through candidwithconnect.com, all the popular streaming services. We really appreciate your time today on Candid with Connect. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Have a good one.